Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
Self-explanatory. Whenever you are writing an interface, the service endpoint interface, it should annotate with a web service annotation, and you need to specify two attributes. The first one is name and the next one is target namespace. The target namespace which is used, and you should follow the same structure during your client communication. If you miss the end slash as well from the client side, then your web service won't be hit properly and the server will respond back to the client specifying that the service was not available. If you remember, if you identify here, the target namespace will get generated by reversing your package structure. You can see that com.ops.service, here it is shows service.ops.com. This is just like a normal namespace. And if you didn't specify name, the normal name, whatever arithmetic service for your interface, this will be taken as your web service name. And each and every method will be annotated, should be annotated with @web method. And it consists of one attribute. This is not at all required. The operation name, which is your name of the operation. See, this is just like your Java method, but in terms of web service, this is just like an operation. And with a param, so here you are going to send the parameters. So you can see that integer num1 and integer num2 are your parameters, and each and every parameter also annotated with @web param, and the name is argument 0. See, these names are used, these names, so this is namespace related one. These names are used when you are generating the actual XML for your Java objects. If you want, you can just change these names and you can regenerate your WSDL file. Come back to your bean class. See, your bean class, it won't contain any annotation for the methods. It doesn't require, but it also contains an annotation at the class level, which is web service annotation. And it will specify that to which class it is providing the implementation, to which interface or to which service it is providing the implementation. That will be specified by using an attribute called endpoint interface. The endpoint interface, it will point to the fully qualified name of your interface. And it will also consist of your target namespace, nothing but whatever that was available at your actual service endpoint interface. We'll discuss about these two in a second, port name and service name. We'll discuss about client also in a second. Come back to the next level.
Krish, I just had a question here, Krish. Is this arithmetic operations.java the same file which you used to generate the, what is that?
Web service.
Web service? to that same file, this target namespace and all got appended?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that was my question. Thanks, Krish.
Yeah. See, once it has generated your service implementation bean, it will specify that it is implementing your service endpoint interface. Because ultimately, your service endpoint interface and implementation bean, they are supposed to be linked up. Previously, you have written only this one until this point only, but your web service, your tool has created the arithmetic service interface, and it has provided all these annotations, and also it has created your JAX-WS files that are required. You can see that for perform edition, it has created two JAX-WS files. The first one is edition, next one is edition response. So for each and every method, the JAX-WS will create two Java files. First one is request message, and the next one is response message. If you open request message, you can see that it will just contain only argument 0 and argument 1 and setters and getters for argument. And the response, it will consist of only one element, which is our return value. So that means what it is doing, it is just taking these two elements and creating them as a separate Java bean, separate JAX-B object, request object, and the next one is, it is taking the response one and creating a separate object, separate JAX-B object for that as well. Even for multiplication also, you can see that name argument 0 and argument 1. See, this argument 0 and argument 1, you can just go back to your arithmetic service and you can see the same names that we have used. These should be in sync when you are writing the JAX-B objects. So we already know about the JAX-B objects. It will just contain the setters and getters for all those parameters, for all these parameters, and it will contain the XML element tags and also XML types. Currently, we won't be having any attributes. If you want, you can just add those also at this level. So once you have specified that this is my web service and I have a web service implementation as well, nothing but your SIB, and once you have specified that this is my WSDL file, only thing you need to do is you just need to provide this WSDL to the client, and the client will be going to create the request message, and he will contact the service provider to provide the actual service. Now let us take a look at our WSDL. WSDL will verify in the design view, then we'll go to the source view. In the design view, you can see that the name of the service, the entire WSDL, which is arithmetic operations service. Next level is arithmetic operation port, which will consist of your actual endpoint details. Here, arithmetic operation service and arithmetic operation port, one is interface level and the next one is your class level. This will be mapped to all your request and response messages. So here you can see that perform addition, perform subtraction, perform multiplication. These three are your operation names. Perform addition accepts two parameters, nothing but your input, nothing but your perform addition. The perform addition, you can just click on here. Your perform addition accepts two arguments. That's what our perform input parameters for our perform addition. And also the output is only one element, perform addition response. Go to that place. You can see that this is only one element. So whatever that your Java class represents, or what are all the annotations represents in your service interface bean or service service implementation bean or service endpoint interface, the entire information will be represented in terms of an XML format here. Only thing is the definition or the implementation was available at the service level, provider level, but each and every element will be specified within your WSDL file. Your WSDL file consists of the information about service endpoint interface, service implementation bean, and also endpoint details, operation names, request parameters, perform addition, perform subtraction, perform multiplication, and also the response parameters. You are going to specify all these elements in terms of all these details in terms of XML elements. Now go to the source view. WSDL. WSDL is just like a contract or a standard between client and server. This was designed by three big giants, IBM, Microsoft, and Ariba. They just want a standard for a web service, and once they have designed the standard, they have donated that to the W3C or submitted that to W3C for standardization. Your WSDL will consist of information about your access endpoint, nothing but where exactly the service was available. And also it specifies about the operations and message formats that the client will be going to use to communicate. The top level element is WSDL definitions. That is the top level element. And the definitions is the root element, which consists of 4 individual elements. The first one is types. Types, nothing but data types, that is that we are going to use within our web service. So currently our data types are perform addition response, perform multiplication and the corresponding response, and subtraction. Messages, nothing but your operations. Your operation will consist of, request message and response message. So request message and response message will be specified within your messages tag. And the port type, nothing but your actual operation. So currently our actual operation is perform addition and perform subtraction and perform multiplication. That will be specified within your port type tag. Binding will contain the information about the communication protocol that we are going to use. Either you can use HTTP protocol or SMTP protocol, or what kind of protocol that you want to use. At most of the time, we'll use only HTTP protocol. I'll discuss these elements elaborately in a second. Types. See, your WSDL consists of several elements. Let me show a diagram. It consists of definitions, and within your definition, it consists of types, messages, port type, binding, and finally the service. The service tag will service element will contain the information about your target service details like IP address and port details. So within your port type, it consists of operation, nothing but your name of the individual method, and individual method will consist of input and output, nothing but your request message and response message. So that means there is an interaction between all the elements. So what you will do is, at this place, first you will define what are all the data types at a common level. And once after that, your messages will consist of all the message names, just like your perform addition message, perform addition response message, perform multiplication message, perform multiplication response message. So you are going to specify all these messages at this level. So each and every message, again, it will be going to use the data type. So your perform addition consists of two elements in num1 and num2. So the data types for num1 and num2 are available only at this level. So that means your messages will depend on types element. When you come back to operation, your operation will consist of input request message and output response message. So that means your operation again depends on messages. Here your code type is just like your service endpoint interface, and your binding is service implementation bean. So your service implementation bean will also consist of again this information, operation input and output, but it also consists of some additional information like what kind of a protocol that we want to use, or what is the style of the document, whether it is document style or RPC style. So the binding consists of certain additional information along with these details. And finally, your service. Your service will consist of details about your endpoint information and also the exposed URL that the client was supposed to use. Let us take a look at the source code of WSDL, and we'll verify the diagram. See here, WSDL definition is your root element, and it consists of a name and also the target namespace, and it also consists of some namespaces that are related to your WSDL file and SOAP. And WSDL definition consists of, here you can see here itself, it consists of types. Types consists of schema. So your types, here we haven't specified the actual data type here itself. What we are doing, we are just importing the existing schema file. So you can just go back to your existing schema file, and your schema, your XST will consist of perform addition, addition response, subtraction, subtraction response, multiplication, multiplication response. So with each and every complex type, again it consists of two small elements, which is argument 0 and argument 1, and your response will consist of one element, return element. So if you don't want to make it as a big within your WSDL, you can just go for import tag, and you can directly import the XST, and this will point the data types from that particular XST file. If you don't want to, you can just remove this and declare all the elements here itself. The next one is WSDL message. Your message, so here you can see that this is the name of the message, perform addition response and perform addition, and your message is referring to this particular element. TNS is this one. Here TNS will refer to your this particular one only, and the messages will consist of a part element, which will specify that my parameters are available from this XST, and you have mentioned to refer to perform addition response. So now this will refer to this particular element. Your perform addition, it will refer to perform addition element, this one, which will consist of argument 0 and argument 1. So your messages, see, message is nothing but your actual request message or response message. So your request message will consist of two elements. You have just given a name for that as perform addition. Similarly, all the messages you are going to specify. The next one. The next one is port type. Port type is nothing but your actual interface. Currently our interface is arithmetic service, and port type consists of several operations. Operations nothing but your individual methods. Come back to your source code. So your individual methods, and also you are going to refer the request message and also the response message. So each and every operation will consist of a name, perform addition, and it consists of input message and output message. So input message, it will refer to this one, and output message, this will refer to message, this one. Here you can see that the attribute name is message. So if you click on this, it will point out this one only. Similarly, you need to specify all the three operations. And the next one is binding element. Just give me a second, please. So binding is nothing but just like your implementation bean, and within your implementation bean also you are going to specify the operation, but somewhat you are going to specify some enhanced details. So here also you can see that it consists of all your operations, and but with respect to your binding, you are going to specify your binding style, nothing but what kind of the communication protocol that we are going to use to communicate to the server. Currently I am using the transport as HTTP protocol. The style, here you have mentioned as document. There are only two values for style. The first one is document and the next one is RPC. Whenever you have mentioned as document, that means you are going to use the elements as a document based or XML based elements. So currently your request or response elements are XML based elements. Perform addition or perform addition response. But when you say RPC, RPC is just like the normal parameters but not XML based. That means you are directly going to specify my request message will consist of integer argument 1 and integer argument 2. You are not going to use XML documents when you specify RPC based. And with each and everything also, it was associated your style related stuff. And remember, your type, it should point to your actual port type. Your element, so your attribute type with the SOAP binding, it was supposed to point to your port type. The last one is your WSDL service. WSDL service will consist of the name of the service, and it consists of the information about your actual service provider URL. So currently you can see that there is an address element which consists of an attribute location, and this is the service provider URL. This is the one that the client will be going to use and call the service. Service will consist of a port, and this port will refer to the binding, and binding will refer to your port type, and port type will refer to messages, and messages will refer to your data types. That is how the communication will go. Data types, and once after that your messages, input and output, and it can also contain the fault message as well. And once after that your actual port type, which will refer to this particular operation, and your binding will refer to the port type, but it will be going to expose the same services, same operations. And finally your port details will consist of endpoint where exactly the service was available. So if you come back to the arithmetic operations, here you can see that there are two elements, port name and service name. This port name should refer to the port name that was mentioned within your WSDL file, and also the service name, it was supposed to mention the same service name which was available within your WSDL file. So now you have exposed your service. You can verify whether the service has exposed or not by verifying the WSDL URL. Currently, the WSDL URL, see, this is where we have exposed our service. So how come the client knows whether the service is working properly or not? What the client can do is he can just open a web browser, and whatever the URL that he was supposed to contact, just append $WSDL. When you click on this one, it will provide you the WSDL file. So that means your server is running properly and the service was exposed properly. See, ultimately your WSDL will be going to directly provide that to you. But if you just want to check whether the service was running properly or not, you can use $WSDL, and this will display the actual WSDL from the server level. So now based on this, you can conclude that your service provider is up and it was available servicing the clients. Now come back to our client code. Yeah, anyone can access it as of now because we haven't written any SOAP header level. So the server was exposed. See, in the sense, this was deployed on my local system. So if it was deployed over the web server, then anyone can access over the web. But currently, this was deployed on my local host. This was not connected to any network. So only I have the access to access this particular web service now. Yep.
The reason I asked is because even the competitors can come back and access this one, right?
Can you please repeat? I missed one statement.
What I'm asking is, assume that this is provided by one of the airlines, AirTran.
Yeah.
And they are giving it to all the providers, I mean, the clients like other, like Kayak or whatever.
Yeah, then you can directly access without any issues.
Okay, but if another United Airlines, they will access this one, I want to restrict them. How will you restrict them? I don't want to let them to go and check what rates I am giving.
Okay.
I want to restrict only for a few people.
Yeah, that's what we'll discuss about the header related stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be discussed in next class.
Okay.
Yeah. So now come back to the client which was provided by our CXF itself. This class was generated by Apache CXF, and you can just modify the client code, and based on the operation, you can get the response from the service. Or else we have one more option to verify our client. Here you can see that there is a launch Webservices Explorer button. Just click on that one. You can see that your Eclipse has some inbuilt tool. Click on WSDL page. WSDL main. So here you can see that it is asking for some URL. So take this URL and put it here. Click on go. Sorry.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website H2KInfosys.com. On our website H2KInfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.